Okay, so hello everyone from Italy. Today I'm gonna share you some magic around Chatbot and Azure and artificial intelligence.
Okay.
And I hope you can see my presentation, okay?
Yes.
I will just
Perfect.
remove myself so we can focus on the slides. So before I start, I just want to say a couple of words about myself. As I said, I'm located in Italy and I work as a digital product manager in the healthcare industry, but I am a former software engineer. So today we'll see a mix around products and development. I'm also Microsoft MVP in the developer technology. And in my free time, you can find me on Coding Coach, and I'm also a mentor focusing on different Microsoft technologies, mobile apps, and in the last period also on artificial intelligence stuff. So let's start going way back in the past, because I want to introduce you Eliza. You might think that chatbots are something very new, but the very first chatbot was invented way back in the past in 1966. This was the very first natural language processing computer program. You can see it also from the graphic. And what Eliza did was to simulate a conversation between the user and the computer. I think people, since a lot of time and since the computer were invented, they had this desire and wish to speak to a computer, to a machine. This very first chatbot was very complex, also for the time being. Used something that was called a pattern matching. So everything you wrote to him, he tried to find some patterns. I hope you can see the example. This was used also to try to give the user some kind of a psychological support. And everything that was done was to simulate a doctor. So the developers back then created some scripts that tried to simulate this doctor, which was a psychotherapist. And based on the keywords that were entering, the computer was trying to understand what was happening. This was the very first program that was also tested with the Turing protocol. So if you know, some time ago, Alan Turing proposed to identify if really a computer has some, let's say, human capabilities. Because what this very first chatbot was trying to do was trying to generate some human-like responses. So some user were really tricked that they were speaking to a human. Going a little bit, skipping in the future, then we got the so-called clever bot. This was another famous bot. You can still find it on the internet these days. And was also very complex because everything you wanted to ask to this clever bot, in the background, he was trying to do a lot of queries in a database that was created directly from the bot. So everyone who spoke and wrote some messages to the bot, they stored everything, and the algorithm was reading from all the previous conversations while you were speaking with it. So the first impression that people had was that they were speaking to the full internet community. But if we move to these days, we might imagine that, let's see if the video starts, we are speaking with a bot, an assistant, how you want to call it, and it's something more interactive. So for example, if I want to track my order, if I want help, if I want to buy something, I have someone and when I say someone, because we're really trying to impersonate a human being, we have someone or something who really help us to accomplish our task. So while speaking about bots, we have that also Satya Nadella 6 years ago in the Build conference, so exactly 50 years after the very first bot was created, he pointed a lot on the bots, saying that bots are the new application you can converse with. And of course, we're trying to enrich the communication, not only people to people, but also to this kind of digital assistants. So you might have, I don't know, like Amazon Alexa, digital assistant. Way deeper, they all some bots. So what is exactly a bot from us? So a bot is just an application that a user interacts with in a conversational way. You can use text, you can send pictures, or you can even speak to this kind of bots. So for us, you can create a web application, so you can create any API. You can use all the Azure community services that we will see in a bit. Then using connectors, we can create bots into different channels, and then we can reach our users. So what this kind of bots can do, they can perform a lot of repetitive and annoying tasks. And they do this in a very human way. So if you have some very repetitive task in your product, in your business, you can think to create a specific bot for it. And you can leave all the creative work to the human. We will focus now on the so-called conversational bots, or the chatbot, as I also call this session. So they are some bots that you can have a linear conversation with. You can have different questions. You can ask them a lot of information. You can ask the bots to buy you something or to book something for you. So bots are just some application, very simple, that you can find, as I said, in different channels. You can put it in Teams, in a lot of places. And what a bot should do, they will try also to engage you with the user experience, to try to be as much human as possible. That's why some people think that bots should also be intelligent. So we don't go into the situation like this famous example that we have a problem and the bot doesn't really help you. So we will leverage all the artificial intelligence we can think of to create some smart bot. So that's why some time ago, also a new, let's say, pattern was presented to us. So you might have already heard about conversation as a platform, which became a new way of thinking after also Microsoft and other companies introduced the language as a new user interface. So we have a lot of benefits, and we will work together. So we as people with our digital assistants or some simple bots. And of course, was meant for the developers, businesses, and communities to work all together. And I'm sure that you already served some web pages, and while you were looking around, you see some bots popping out in the corner of your screen. And I think they are really changing the online user experience. So if you are trying to buy something, you are not really finding the right click, the bot is there for you. And of course, you may think that bots give you a lot of benefits. So not only for the productivity task, you can reach also your customer anywhere on any platform or on any device. So I started, let's say, my journey as a mobile developer. You can find on my GitHub, I also added some bots to a mobile application. So really, you can add them anywhere. You can then engage with your customers in a very natural way, so very personalized. You can expose your product in different platforms and improve the customer experience. And the last but not the least, it's reduce the need for human assistance. But of course, we are not getting rid of the human, because anytime you want, anytime you have the need to, you can do the so-called handoff to a human. So while you're interacting with your bot, maybe you try to do, like this in this example, all the possible steps. You can connect to a physical person that can help you. So once again, bots and people are working together. Okay, sorry, I was losing my voice. Okay, so after this very first overview of what we can do and what bots are, of course, every bot has its own life cycle, like every software or application you are creating. So the very first step is to design your bot, to try to think of it, to make it the more human possible. You can also find a lot of conversational user experience guidelines in the internet. Then once you have an idea what your bot should do, you will start let's say the classic process. You'll build it, test it, publish it in your channels. You can also connect it, and you also will have the possibility to analyze your bot. You can find different bot frameworks. We will be seeing today the Azure bot service, but you can imagine that everyone has their own bot engine, or how they call it, bot intelligence. And there are a lot of predefined channels where you can connect and publish your bot. For example, you have Teams bots. You can also put them, I don't know, on Skype, on Telegram. And if you want to create your, let's say, your own bot and put it on your website, you can always use the direct line connection. As I mentioned, we will be using today the Azure bot framework that uses the Microsoft Cognitive Services and already has all the possibility for you to create and connect it with different Azure services and create it with what you are already using. And of course, I mentioned the Microsoft Cognitive Services. We all know they are a cloud-based artificial intelligence service that help build and put cognitive intelligence into the application. All of these 4 types of vision, speech, language, and decision, you have your own REST API, you have SDK. You can create and test them and add it directly to your application very very simple. Also, you can add other services that you can find on Azure, like the Bing search that allow you to search everywhere, and anytime you will use the API calls. So maybe some of you already have data science skills or a lot of artificial intelligence knowledge, but for today, I just wanted to share with you a simple demo. So we will be creating a simple Azure bot together without the need to know all the background. So I will move 1 second. So of course, as first step, when you go into Azure, just looking for bot, you'll be able to see your Azure bot here. You can just create it as you create any resource on the Azure portal. For the demo today, I already installed into my computer a very nice tool that Microsoft created for us, and it's called the Bot Framework Composer. So also, as I mentioned in this demo, we'll be creating a simple bot without being any code specific. So I will just create new. Here you already have some templates. You can create bot with different pre-installed APIs. I will just create an empty bot. I will call it empty demo bot. And we'll have an Azure Web App runtime. You can also link it to some Azure function that you might already have. And I will just click create. So as the name says, this will create for us a project with an empty bot. The bot is not fully empty. Let's see how fast is my computer today, but already has the tools that will help you understand how exactly a bot thinks and which are the main information that a bot needs. So the very first thing that a bot will do to the user is the greeting part. So we can also disregard the things that are here, but you can see that the visual representation of a bot is very similar to a diagram flow. So each time my bot starts, it will prompt me with a welcome message. So for example, welcome to your bot. You can simply modify it and adapt it to your idea or to your business. So my idea for the bot today was to try to enrich the greeting. So my bot will say, welcome to your bot, type ciao to start. Okay. So as the name says here, the first idea to make the whole flow start is when the user will type ciao, the bot will start to do something for us. Also, the first thing that you can also see here, that apart from the greeting, there is also an unknown part. So what happens if I type in something that is different from ciao? So for example, the bot can say something like, sorry, I didn't get that, or sorry, can you please try again? Now, from the bot, I want to add a new piece. So when I click here near my bot, I can add a so-called dialogue because I want to conversate with my my bot. This can be seen as a function for the developers. So I will call it get ciao. I will click OK. And then here you can see I have a new flow. So what I want to do now is when I see ciao from the user, I want to send a response back to the user. So I will just zoom in a little bit. I will just click the add here and click on send response. So each time my bot will say ciao, I will reply to my bot ciao. Very simple. And this is the very first response from my bot. But I also want to do something more. I want to trigger something very, very simple. So what I'm gonna do today, I will click back on my bot here, and I will connect my bot with the new trigger. Here we can create different kind of triggers. You can identify what is really happening here, and also I can add different kind of information or activity to my bot here. So I will just use a recognizer. An intent one. Okay. Then here on the left side, you can see everything that we created. You can add different logic to your bot, like condition, regular expression. You can also follow your bot here. And I will just click on the add new part. And once the user says ciao, the bot says ciao again, we can start a new dialogue. And from this dialogue, we can welcome back our bot. So this dialogue here, I can just link it to the expression I already created, because in the past there were two different parts. So the idea will be, once I agree, I will just click back my bot here. So I will go back to my function. I already have the response. After that, I just want to ask a question to my user. Very simple. I will ask a text question, for example, what is your name? Will be a text. And this will be the bot response. Then let's say the response that the user will give to us, I will set it in, let's call it user.name. So everything that the user will put as a name, we will store it inside this variable here. And then on this, you can create some logic on the name. You want to maybe verify just your logged in user. Otherwise, as an output, I will use a trim value just to clean up the user string that has been inserted. As I mentioned, you can create different kind of validation. You can just click on other and expand the recognizing part. Here you can have your different logic, and also what happens. So here you can have your validation, and what happens is something breaks your validation. For this example, I will just accept every name someone will insert. After the user inserted name, I will just send back a response to the user. So also here, very simple. I will just say hi in French to my user, and I will use the name that I got from the user input. I just say something very simple. Nice to meet you. And then I can just save it. So if I did everything correct, and I'm not chased by the demo, we can just click on this start bot here, and we can test our bot. We can test it directly in the bot framework composer, or we can test it in the emulator. So if we want to test it directly here, you'll see that these windows pop up. This is the very first greeting that we modified. So let's see what happens if I click ciao. I might mix up things, but it's important that also the bot, if doesn't know what to do, he will answer to you each time. So I will just move back to the other bot to see what I actually missed. So this was my begin dialogue. What is your name? I will get the name, and I will say back to my user. This was the other part. Let's start this. Of course, you can play around with this composer. You can try to add directly your logic. So I will just put here my name, and this is working. I think I made some connection. Anyhow, you will find the full demo on my GitHub. I will run back to the slides, because I know that this was just a simple demo.
Codrina, do you hear me?
Yeah, can you hear me?
I have a question. Can we also directly write some code on the user interface, or should we use a visual code or something like that to directly, instead of using a user interface, to just write code? It's possible?
Yeah, sure. So I prefer to use the visual interface. Just to give you a simple example, you can just download also the things that you created in the composer, and you can use it. As you can see in this slide, you can use G# or build it in your code editor, and you can just add it to your application. Everything that you create in the composer will be made available for you based on your preference.
Okay, thank you.
And of course, after you create your bot, you publish it, or you just download the source code and you put it on your solution. you can enrich your bot even more. You can connect it to channels. Of course, use the cognitive services to create different logics. You can also create and use your bot with Azure functions. You can set continuous deployment and everything you're already using in DevOps. I also put here another screenshot that I think better answer your question. So from Azure, you can just use Bot Framework Composer. You can use the Bot Framework SDK, and then you can create it with the Azure Cognitive Services. Because the idea of a bot is to create the so-called conversational intelligence. Here we have all the different possibilities from Azure. For example, we have question and answer making that help you create like database on question and possible answer. So you can just create a bot that reads from this database that can help your user solve some problem. You can use all the search functionalities. You can also use different speech API or speaker recognition. The translator one you can also use. And you can also use the so-called language understanding intelligence service, or LUIS, because we want to really make our bot have this human feeling, because otherwise the user might get frustrating. So we really want to avoid this kind of things. I said we can create this kind of phrases. So what happens if I don't understand something? But you should also give the possibility to create some kind of exit phrase or words to really help the user close your bot. Of course, then based on your idea on your product, you can create a bot and connect it to different services that are already present, and you can try it directly from Azure. And as I wanted to also show you the LUIS part, so the language understanding intelligence, because when the user wants to interact with your bot, we never say that he wants to have gluten-free pizza with a lot of ingredients and already everything that you want to have is just in one phrase. What the user says can be just, I want to have a pizza, and how your bot can really understand what exactly the user wants. So the LUIS part can really help you to extract the different information from what a user wrote to your bot. I just put here a terminology slide because we have just 3 entities that are part of the LUIS part. So the first thing is the intent. So what the user actually wants. For example, I want to order a small pizza. The entity is what is really relevant from the thing that the user put to you. So maybe some user really write a lot, or to just write to you pizza. But if you have complex phrases, the language understanding part can really help you extract only the key information. So for example, I want a small pizza. And you can really use the technology to extract the right information. Then we have the last bit, which are the utterances, which is really what the app needs to interpret. This this framework is really something you can customize and train based on your experience or what you really want to achieve, but also give you some support, for example, with grammar, languages, and different things that are more based on the language. So when you are creating your dialogue and you are thinking what I really want to do, if you can also think back in the composer what really happens in my flow, what I want to trigger, I want to do some action. This will really help you. And this is something that, of course, uses machine learning intelligence, but you can really custom and train your bot. For example, if you are doing and selling pizza, you can already train your bot to recognize all the different type of pizza you have on your menu. So it will be easy to identify the type or the name and then create an action that, I don't know, you can just order that without really doing a lot of logic. Okay. And of course, we will still have the same path that we saw. We will identify all the scenarios. We can also leverage Luis once again. We will build everything. We'll define these intents and entities. I think there is really a lot to do while we think of a bot. We will test it and improve it. And then we can, of course, keep connecting it to other services and refine it once again. I think when you think about a chatbot, might be some of the live application that you really need to improve day by day. I would just wanted to show you some samples that I found while going around different websites. Of course, Microsoft Sales already have their Azure bot that sells you Azure. So very simple. I think you all have seen it in the Azure website. Of course, you can order the pizza, as I mentioned. Domino's has its own, which is very interactive. I think it's already in different channels. Other scenario, of course, you can think of a tracking chatbot that tracks your order. Very simple. Unfortunately, in the last couple of days, a lot of hospital websites or different institutions created the Corona bots that help you identify your symptoms. And then there are different virtual assistant, virtual agent, everyone calls it, in different ways that really help you solve different problems. As you can see from this example, the user interface is also very important. So I think the user interface and experience, it's where the actual magic happens. So you're trying to really engage your customer, your user, and this can be done by using the so-called cards. You can find it also a lot of examples on this website, but very simple. You can see that while you are creating your bots, you can have different information that you want to prompt to your user. You can add different kind of images. Of course, you can work with CSS, create buttons, create different UI pieces. Of course, you can have different kind of cards. Someone directly from Microsoft. You can find them also from the community. You can create different user controls, also custom. I just put here some example. I think you already saw them also in Teams. You can have embedded videos, audios, This one here is very nice. It's called the carousel card. You can prompt like to your shop, or based on some answer, you can display items in different ways. The flight one, I think you already saw in some websites. You can also create and link different pieces or application. You can also create some kind of a sign-in card directly from your bot. And of course, you can play videos, GIFs, or audio directly from your bot. So I just wanted to share you the most, let's say, magical things about bots. I think there is a lot, and really depends on the idea that someone may have, the business, the product it's working on. But I think that if you start thinking about something that can help you, you should have one idea around. Of course, you can integrate bots everywhere. These are just some examples. You can create your own cards because let's say behind everything you have something like a big JSON file. You'll have APIs, so you can really use the information from a bot as you please. So I'll just move to my last slide here. I'll be happy if someone has some questions. And thank you.
Thank you, Codrina. Is someone having a question? Or?
So, from by artificial intelligence module, this board cooperation.
Did you have a question, Codrina?
Sorry, I hear it very badly. If you can just.
Okay. Do we need to access it from inside artificial intelligence module, from where we configure it? So if we need to configure this bot, we have to configure it from inside artificial intelligence module, or it has something external?
It depends on your bot. If you want to use artificial intelligence, you can configure it in Azure. You'll have different API keys based on the services you want to use. But mainly, each service has its own platform or website. For example, if you go to Q&A Maker, then you can create your database of question and answer. It will give you some APIs, and you can configure it back to your bot. It really depends on the different services that you can find around.
Okay, so it depends. Fine. Okay, so great. Okay, thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Other question? Okay, so let's start with that. Thank you, Codrina.
Thank you, and thank you for inviting me.